Hi, it's Susan Gordon-Ryan, Realtor with Jack Conway Mattapoisett. I wanted to give you a quick, honest update on what we're seeing in the SouthCoast market as we wrap up the first quarter, specifically for single-family homes Mattapoisett, Marion, Rochester, Wareham, and Fairhaven, because the headlines don't always tell the full story, and locally, things are a little more nuanced right now. So here's what's really happening. The first thing I'll say is this: we're still in a seller-leaning market, but it's not the same market we saw a year or two ago. Inventory is still relatively tight across most of our towns, but buyer behavior has shifted. Buyers are more selective, they're taking a little more time, and they're reacting very directly to pricing and presentation. If we look town by town, you can really see the differences. Starting with Mattapoisett, prices are still strong. Median sales price is up over 18% year-to-date, sitting just under $900,000. But activity is down. Closed sales are down nearly 50%. What that tells us is fewer homes are trading, but the ones that are selling are still commanding strong prices. And days on market have actually come down, which means well-positioned homes are still moving. Now in Marion, we're seeing something a little different. Prices are up significantly, over 60% year-to-date, pushing past the $1 million mark. But inventory is down, and new listings are down quite a bit as well. So this is a classic low inventory, high price environment. But here's the nuance. Days on market increased compared to last month, which tells us buyers are being more thoughtful at these higher price points. Not unlimited, but more room to negotiate, more time to think, and in some cases more inventory to choose from. So overall, this isn't a hot, chaotic market, and it's not a slow market either. It's a more thoughtful market, and that's actually a healthy place to be. If you're curious how this applies specifically to your home or your situation, I'm always happy to talk it through. No pressure, just a clear, honest conversation about where things stand. In Rochester, things are a bit more mixed. Prices are up modestly year-to-date, about 8%, but inventory has increased significantly, and days on market have gone up as well. That combination usually means buyers have a little more breathing room. So in Rochester, we're starting to see a more balanced dynamic. Not fully a buyer's market, but definitely less competitive than it was. Looking at Wareham, this one's interesting. Closed sales are up significantly, almost doubling month over month. Prices are up as well, sitting around $500,000 year-to-date. Inventory is still tight, and months of supply is low. So Wareham is still moving, but we are seeing slightly longer days on market, which again points to buyers taking a bit more time. And then in Fairhaven, we're seeing a bit of a reset. Prices are down slightly year-to-date, and closed sales are down as well. At the same time, days on market have increased significantly. That usually means homes are taking longer to find the right buyer. But here's the key. New listings dropped pretty sharply year-to-date, which could tighten things back up as we move into spring. So when you step back and look at all 5 towns together, here's the real story. Prices are generally holding or increasing, especially in the more desirable coastal towns. Inventory is still relatively low, but not as tight as it was, and buyers are more selective. They're not rushing, they're watching, comparing, and making more deliberate decisions. What that means for you depends on your position. If you're thinking about selling, pricing and presentation matter more than ever. The homes that are positioned correctly are still selling well, and in some cases, quickly. But the ones that miss the mark are sitting longer and requiring adjustments. And if you're a buyer, you have a bit more opportunity than you did a year ago.